Britain needs a revolution. This great nation is clearly in moral, social and economic decline, and it needs a total reboot. As the Americans are celebrating this weekend, well, half of them anyway, it's hard not to look enviously across the pond at the political earthquake that has happened and the total renewal and reinvention that is now being promised. As a Brit looking towards America, I feel like a contestant on Bullseye looking at a prize I could have won. There he is, Donald Trump, a glistening speedboat compared to the booby prize that is Sir Keir Starmer and this Labour government. And what's ironic is that what the Americans want and voted for on Tuesday is actually what most of us want as well. The Americans want their tax lowered, so do we. Americans want strong borders and an end to illegal immigration, so do we. The Americans want cheaper goods, including energy and groceries, so do we. Americans want free speech, the ability to think and say what the hell you like as long as it's within the law, well, so do we. The Americans want two biological sexes, men and women, and the legal protections and social organisation that goes with that. So do we. Americans think that their history is complex but ultimately glorious. So do we. Americans love their country. So do we. Americans want an end to identity politics where people are divided up into subgroups and given preferential treatment based on skin colour, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or any other random characteristic that the woke Taliban have dreamt up this week. Americans want an end to unnecessary, expensive and bloody wars thousands of miles away. And they want to stand up for the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel, so brutally attacked on October the 7th, 2023. Well, so do we. Americans want their country put first and their citizens placed at the front of the queue. So do we. Americans embrace a multi-ethnic society. Well, both our nations have always been melting pots, but only if the population follows the rule of law, speaks the language, contributes to the economy, and adheres to the fundamental principles and values of the country. That is what the Americans want, and so do we. Now, Donald Trump is not perfect. I'll be honest, he's a very questionable human being. My mother is not fond of him, and she's the ultimate judge. But it's what he does in office that matters, not who he is. He doesn't have to be a great person. He has to be a great president. Already, Vladimir Putin has said he's keen to resume a diplomatic relationship with America. Hamas has said to be looking for a deal. China wants peaceful collaboration. And this guy isn't even president yet, but his influence is being felt. Now, look, as you know, I am a positive person. I don't do doom and gloom. So where is the optimism for this great country, with America taking a radical step in the right direction and with us going backwards to the 1970s? Well, it's all about the next 4 years and building a sensible coalition of common sense politicians to spark a political, economic and social revolution here in the United Kingdom. I do hope the Conservatives, under the leadership of Kemi Badenoch, will be able to offer this radical reboot of our country. But if she doesn't, I can think of a certain chain-smoking, real ale-drinking disruptor who will do just that. And he's never Farage away. That's right, the Conservatives. If you don't reboot the country in 4 years' time, Farage will do it for you. You have been warned. You've been wormed. You're not a horse. You have been warned. OK, folks, I shouldn't have had that elixir before the show, but it is Saturday night. Listen, 9:10. Are you having a nice evening? Have you put the kids to bed? I'm going to give you permission to have a little glass of something naughty, OK, if you're in that mood, or perhaps get the kettle on. Tear open the custard creams, but let's spend a fabulous 2 hours together. Can't wait for that take at 10. Woke ITV have lost the plot. But let's get into this now. A massive, massive story. Britain needs a Trump-style reboot. Let me know your thoughts. GBNews.com/your say. But first, tonight's top pundits. We have journalist And communications advisor Linda Jubilee. We have broadcaster and writer, the one and only Peter Lloyd, and ethnographer, writer, self-proclaimed anarchist, Dr. Lisa Mackenzie. Annika.
Annika. That's what we should call her from now on, Annika.
What's happened to my brain? I don't know. Well, listen, let me get straight to you, actually,
You're in
Lisa,
revolution.
about this. Well, I know. I think I am rather fuelled by this idea of a reboot of the country. Across this panel, we've got different views, and you've got left, right, centre and somewhere in between. But I think all of us would like to see this great country rebooted and reimagined, Lisa.
I would like us to be reimagined. I don't know what rebooted means at the moment with us, actually. I'm not sure what it means.
It might mean looking at the NHS and going, this doesn't work, we're going to start again.
Yeah.
It might involve slashing sacred cows.
It might do, but I'm always very careful and cautious about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think that's what because when you were talking about all the things that America wants, and so do we, you didn't say good public services. And, you know, that is something that we do value.
It's an important point.
It is, and we value that. I think America does, but they've just not had it. I've visited America many times. I spent a lot of time in America, and it has, over the last few years, been a country of decline. You've definitely seen that. But so have we. But I think we should be focusing on public services. We should be focusing on communities. That's where Britain, I think, is the greatest, when we focus on our communities, building those up from the bottom.
I think we can all agree, can't we, Linda, that what nobody wants, I think, around this sofa and listening or watching at home, is more of the same.
No, and I think that's what we did vote for. We voted for change in the last election. So we can't really complain about it now, and it's not exactly what we wanted. The change we've got is recently a socialist or a public sector budget from a public sector Prime Minister, and we are going down that path. That's the change. And people voted for it in not inconsiderable numbers. So it's very difficult to see now how we would change paths, because we've set up a situation now in this country where I think there are two tribes. There's this one, and in a sense we need to wait and see whether Rachel Reeves' budget is going to work. And there are some signs now, particularly from the NFU, I'm thinking of, and some other groups of people that think it doesn't work.
Sainsbury's, Asda, they're really worried. Lots of companies are going to have to lay people off. Hospitality companies, very concerned, insisting that they meet her next week.
I think we should be more worried about the hairdressers than Sainsbury's.
But these markets, look, what did it, I know you say that they've got billions, but what they'll do is hire less people and give fewer people pay rises, and that's the problem.
Well, I hope
it's very difficult. I mean, one of the really big problems, can I just say that one of the really big problems with that budget is, and it affects me because my mother's having palliative care at the moment, is that in care homes, if you don't give them a break and they're forced to pay much higher than the minimum wage, and they have to pay more in taxes, they will either have to close or they will have to restrict their staffing numbers. And that's not what Wes Streeton was promising when it came to the social care sector.
Now, Peter Lloyd makes a glorious return to the Mark Tonight sofa.
Here he is.
I know you've been away, you've been writing and largely growing a beard.
Yes, I've been cultivating this over a couple of weeks.
You look like an Edwardian gentleman.
I know.
Do I?
Yeah,
King,
I feel humbled next to you. I mean, this is not shaving for 3 days, and look, there you go, nothing. Just bum fluff.
This is not shaving for 24 hours. It just...
That's how much of a man you are. As is Donald Trump. Listen, he's not everyone's cup of tea. I've got viewers and listeners who can't stand the guy. But would you agree that Britain needs a Trump-style revolution?
Oh, absolutely. I think the country is ripe for it, and most people are crying out for some sort of change. And you only have to look, it's not just the latest government who are failing. Every government over the last 20 years, the people have consistently voted for change, and the governments, whether it's Conservative or Labour, have failed to deliver. That indicates that the entire system is broken and we need a hard reset.
We do, and we need someone with the political mandate and will to make that change. That wasn't Rishi Sunak,
No.
and it isn't Sir Keir Starmer.
No, and I think the answer is not going to be within a politician. We need someone like Trump, an anti-politician.
All right.
A person in politics
All right.
who can come in, bring a fresh perspective and represent the people.
Well, would that be, I don't know, a sort of feisty, opinionated
know.
TV presenter, perhaps? You know,
I'm
someone that's quite busy at the weekends but available Monday to Thursday.
Well, I'm thinking it's either going to be Mark Dolan or Nigel Farage. Now,
we could do it together.
I'd be happy with either.
And by the way, briefly then, for this revolution, I've said that I do hope that Badenoch offers the kind of radical changes that the country needs in 4 years' time. If it's not her, Farage will fill that space, won't he?
Look, the Tories are dead in the water. The Tories have repeatedly failed. They don't deserve our faith or our support.
I think don't write the Tories off.
And, you know...
I think so.
Kemi's got a lot of good qualities, but I'm sorry, we've been repeatedly lied to by these parties, and I just don't trust them.
Are you suggesting it's only Farage that can change the country?
I think he's like a last hope, yeah.
Well, I think that's a little bit unfair to Kemi Badenoch because she hasn't actually outlined her policies yet.
True.
What she's done is she's built a concept around her and a vision, and we will have to wait and see.
She's got to be radical because that is the new political currency, isn't it, Lisa?
It is, but shall we all agree and then we need to get rid of Westminster? And have an anarchist revolution.
That is very radical.
Shall we get rid of Westminster?
I wouldn't go that far.
Because you are saying the system's broken, so that system change, getting rid of the politics that we've got now, is it the political party?
Well, I tell you what, anarchy might be the answer. It couldn't be any worse than what we've had for the last few years, could it?